This evening, in a historic occurrence, Georgetown Prison burns to the ground, and as usual, the fire was a facilitator to a planned escape routine. A prisoner is still a human being, must have been the thinking of relatives of inmates of the razed Georgetown Prison who converged on the area during the disaster. The Public Security Minister is calling for calm in the society amidst security concerns following the prison fiasco. Residents of the city, some out of frustration, others out of concern, had their say about the Camp Street prison disaster yesterday. And fire extinguished, escapees on the run. Headline News revisits the scene of what could possibly become a country's nightmare if not handled expediently.
From Safe TV headquarters in South Granville Gardens, this is Safe TV Headline News with Basil Bradshaw.
Headline News is now being streamed live on our YouTube channel as well as our website safetvguyana.com. Join us. Tonight, Headline News brings you a comprehensive coverage exclusively of yesterday's shocking news of the Camp Street prison disaster. Before that, however, the entire team here at Headline News would like to extend its condolences to the relatives and friends of the slain prison warder, Mr. Odinga Wickham. In an unprecedented act of destruction from a thoroughly planned escape frenzy, prisoners of the already embattled Camp Street Penal Institution set fire to the correctional facility yesterday, which metaphorically set Georgetown alight in the chaos that reigned as a result of the act. Wendell Jeffrey now tells us that professionalism and skill by the relevant authorities prevented a much grimmer situation.
For over 100 years, this gate has stood mostly closed and always manned. Today, Basil, it swung open with not a single prison officer in sight. Last evening, we observed that the last of the prison officers ran out of the prison compound through that gate for what will be practically the last time on the job at this location. In a surreal sight, I also watched as the Guyana flag, which had flown over the prisons for these several decades, succumbed to the intense heat and then fell to the ground like an ominous omen, leaving the Guyana Prison Services flag to eventually suffer the same fate. The entire prison has been burnt to the ground, including the officers' quarters. This is the building that the prison officers used for meetings, recreational events, press conferences, etc. The men were first brought to the officers' quarters as a makeshift holding area. However, just about 15 minutes into their being settled there, an alarm went up as smoke began to billow from its roof and windows. Like they did in the prison, it is believed that the men also set the officers' quarters on fire. Several of them ran through the door to escape the blaze, as some were seen exiting the building via the balcony. In addition to the Army personnel on the ground, the Guyana Defense Force helicopter provided eyes and tactical support from the air. However, in the end, the fire got the better of the fire brigade, and we all watched as just about every building the fire touched was reduced to mere rubble. By some means, which is yet to be confirmed, the prisoners obtained several handguns, which they turned against the prison officers and police. One prison officer was confirmed dead. Several were injured, bearing both chops and gunshot wounds. All evening, the lawmen were made to dodge bullets as they tried tirelessly to maintain a handle on a very chaotic situation. In the melee and pandemonium, several of the inmates tried to escape the arm of the law. Some did make good their escape. At least 2 of them were seen running through the Leopold Street area where thick cover was provided for them easily. However, when the dust was settled, at least 3 of the escapees were shot. One was shot on Ben Street, just west of the prison. The other two were shot as they tried to make good their escape through the Leopold Street area. Up to press time, Headline News did not receive any names of those who were shot. However, we have heard of no escapee lives being lost as a result of any of the shootings. Most of the injuries were to the legs of the escapees. One was shot to his abdomen. It was obvious that the lawmen were not shooting to kill. Basil, in a very testy and volatile situation, the police and security forces showed great restraint. Reporting for Channel 2 Headline News, I am Wendell Jeffrey.
Thank you, Wendell. Yesterday's blaze at the Georgetown prisons was a massively furious one, since no other previous attempts of arson by prisoners ever reduced the facility to ashes. Obviously, even though the inmates were incarcerated for running foul of the law, family members were very concerned about the condition of their relatives after learning of the conflagration. Here again is Wendell Jeffrey on his comprehensive coverage.
Many anxious citizens turned up at the police blockades yesterday as the fires raged violently, burning the Camp Street prison to the ground. Many of those gathered claimed that they had relatives in the prison, and fearing the 2016 fiasco that saw the 18 inmates burned to death, some vented their concerns. Some of those on remand also spoke with Headline News. Earlier today, Headline News visited the site at Camp Street. The firemen, including Fire Chief Marlon Gentle, were actively conducting their investigations. A look through the gate told the grim story of the extent of the damage. Firefighters were seen digging through the rubble. The still problematic situation of placement is causing many families to be concerned. One concerned mother spoke with Headline News.
My name is Kim Singh. My son is Mark Ray Zandi, and I would like to know what part I have in him, because I have no calls up to now to know where my son is, and I'm at Camp Street and they tell me to go to the head office to find out, and I get no contact with nobody at the head office to know what's going on.
Is your son on remand or he's convicted?
On remand.
On remand for what?
Just for narcotics.
How long he's been in there?
Over 3 months already for him.
How old is he?
He's just 18.
He's 18.
Yeah.
First time offender? First time he's
Yes, he never get locked up before, and I don't know the rules and the roundabout where these places they would have said I got it. So I would like to know
What's
if
your
I could get a
concern?
call. My concern is to know if my son is okay, and I will need if you can get a call and say what he have to get, because so I hear everything that is burning up, so he don't have nothing, and right now I'm financially embarrassed to get it.
Basil, frustrated family members have been showing up at the prison and the prison headquarters on Brickdam, seeking to find out about their family members and loved ones. When Headline News accompanied them to the Guyana Prison Services headquarters, they were told that there was no one there to answer their questions. When they went to the Ministry of Public Security, they were told that they would have to go to the Lusignan prison to check on their loved ones for themselves, as there was no one at the ministry who can answer their questions either. Reporting for Channel 2 Headline News, I am Wendell Jeffrey.
Thanks again, Wendell. In the meantime, the authorities are calling for calm in the society since the situation is said to be under control. In an updated release, it is noted that 5 prisoners have escaped, including the Bartica and Lusignan massacre convict Mark Royden Durant, also known as Royden Williams, and Smalley, and Yuri Varswick, also known as Malcolm Gordon. Updates will be upkept following national security meetings with the President, His Excellency Brigadier David Granger. And in an unrelated incident, the Police Public Relations Department has disclosed that remanded murder accused Sean Collins, 20 years old, of Lot 6 Sketley and Drysdale Streets, was recaptured at about 1:50 this morning on Hatfield Street. Collins had escaped while being transported with other prisoners to another location last night. He was not among the 5 original escapees. Coming up on Headline News after the break, the people have their say about the Camp Street prison disaster, and the government of Guyana spares no effort in trying to keep the country calm.
Sometimes there's just too much information to keep up with when you're pregnant. What you should and should not eat, what kind of exercise is right for you, how to handle mood changes, even how to determine when it's time for delivery.
Don't let your pregnancy be a burden. Watch The Baby Story on Safe TV Channel 2 every weekday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Now you can know all you need to know from conception to delivery when you watch The Baby Story on Safe TV Channel 2.
Styles, simply different.
The founder and senior pastor, Prophet Wade Ridley of Restoration and Life Ministry Church, in collaboration with the Ministry of Public Health, presents a health fair on Saturday, 8th July 2017 at the Restoration and Life Ministry Church, located on Caneview Avenue, South Rhineveldt Gardens, between David Rose and Greenheart Streets. Come and access free testing for blood sugar, blood pressure, HIV, VIA, and blood group. Also, dental services, mental health awareness, TB sensitization, and family planning. Lots of side attractions for the children. Starts at 9 a.m. and ends at 3 p.m. Admission free.
Need a ride around town and beyond? Look no further than Oasis Ride taxi service. With affordable prices and some of the best drivers in the business, we've been delivering prompt and reliable service to Guyana for over 16 years. We also offer tours, chauffeur service, and even car rentals. You can call us at 231-5554 or 225-5496. For deals, specials, and more information, find our page on Facebook. Oasis Ride Taxi Service. Let's go.
Seems like people will try just about anything to lose weight these days. But nothing works better than proper dieting and exercise. So if you're guilty of eating the wrong foods, not finding time to exercise, or can't afford a gym, join Safe TV Channel 2 for Body and Spirit. Aerobics workout with Dick Nunez.
Hello, I'm Dick Nunez. Welcome to Body and Spirit Aerobics.
Weekday mornings from 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. Don't hesitate. Act now, because your greatest wealth is your health.
No doubt the entire saga of the burning down of the Georgetown prisons and the escape of dangerous criminals has had its impact on the wider society. People have already started to express concern over a possible return to the days of the early 2000s when 5 escapees had held the entire country hostage. Esther Sobers took her camera to the streets and documented some of the concerns.
Mixed views are among people here on Regent Street as we asked them what they feel about Camp Street prison break last night, and here's what they had to say.
But what I would like the president to do, those people that get life imprisonment, take for example those men that went on those massacres, they can't change. If they get sentenced to death, they must dead.
I pray that they catch these guys back very early as possible.
To me, the prison ward did a good job, but
Move them from civilization.
If the family don't carry certain things into the prison, how would they get it? Or the prison warder, they don't pass it to the prison warder, how would they get it? You understand me? It could be worse last night if the police and the soldier didn't come out. To me, I feel this thing is totally unacceptable. First time you burn down the prison, the second time you burn down the prison, for what reason?
The jail want to move from there long now. It overpacked too, you know what I mean? They should put it somewhere in the Demoir River, Hag Island or somewhere. So in case any fire and any escape and them thing, by then they could swim out, police could catch them. But in Jachong, since you broke out, they got to carry waiting. Yeah, so they got to find somewhere better for put it, man.
Crime doesn't pay. People should not do crime.
Good work, Esther. The government of Guyana has seemingly shaken off the shock of yesterday's events that plunged the country into high alert mode. Through frequent national security meetings, they have been keeping the country abreast with plans to avoid introducing the panic button. George Gonzalez is on that beat.
Today, the government held an emergency national security meeting at Camp Ayangana following the situation at the Georgetown prison yesterday. The high-level meeting included President David Granger, Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu, Minister of State Joseph Harmon, Public Security Minister Kemraj Ramjatan, Public Infrastructure Minister David Patterson, Fire Chief Marlon Gentle, Director of Prisons Gladwin Samuels, Commissioner of Police Silal Prasad, Acting Head of KANU Michael Atherley, Acting Chief of Staff for the GDF Nazrul Hussain, and Minister of Legal Affairs Basil Williams. Following the meeting, Minister Ramjatan summarized the decisions made.
Some major decisions have been taken. They have to do largely with how we redistribute the prisoners at Lusignan presently. You know, it's almost about 1,000 we have there. And we have made some decisions as to how many and who will go to Mazaruni, how many will go to New Amsterdam and Temeri, and we are also in the process of getting magistrates to be at Lusignan for purposes of ensuring that those minor offenses and those who are on bail but couldn't afford it make the arrangements for the granting of bail on their own recognizance.
This afternoon, 6 magistrates arrived at the Lusignan prison to grant bail to a number of prisoners remanded for bailable offenses and non-violent offenders, as government takes steps to reduce the Camp Street prison population. Transfers of other prisoners to New Amsterdam, Mazaruni, and Timiri prisons have begun. At this point, the Ministry of Public Infrastructure is examining the remaining structure at Camp Street to verify its integrity.
Also ask Infrastructure Ministry to start the debris removal of the Georgetown prisons. It might take a couple of days because of the fact that the embers are still burning on the debris.
Apparently, another major decision was to send Police Commissioner Silal Prasad on leave until November, and he will head into pre-retirement leave next year. Commissioner Prasad is officially set to retire in April 2018. Assistant Commissioner of Police David Ramnarine will be acting as top cop in Silal's absence. Meanwhile, Berbice Divisional Commander Assistant Commissioner Ian Amsterdam will head into retirement in September. As more details continue to unravel in the Camp Street prison break, reports state that 22-year-old Matthew Shivtahal has not been seen or heard since the riot. But the burgundy Toyota 212 car he was driving has since been found abandoned. The car is now in the possession of the police force. Yesterday, Shivtahal was driving a family friend and the friend's children when, according to the friend, 4 men who were all armed with guns approached the car at the corners of Camp and Hadfield Streets and ordered her and the children to get out. When Matthew Shivtahal attempted to hand the keys over to the man, he was told that they needed him to be the driver. Royden Williams reportedly forced the 22-year-old man back into the car with the gun to his head, while the other 3 escapees jumped into the back seat. That was the last time the young driver was seen. Thus far, the Guyana Police Force has confirmed at least 5 prisoners have escaped. 4 of them have been identified. The first, Sherwin Nero, aka Sherwin Moses or Catty. Prisoner 2, Stuffray Hopkins Alexander. Prisoner 3, Yuri Varswick, aka Malcolm Gordon. And convicted Lusignan massacre assailant Mark Royden Durant, aka Royden Williams, also known as Smalley. Anyone with information that may lead to the arrest of the escaped convicts is asked to contact the police on telephone numbers 229-2289, 229-2655, 911, or the nearest police station. For Channel 2 Headline News, I'm George Gonzalez.
Good work, George. Still ahead, recognition of good work done by the joint services.
Sometimes there's just too much information to keep up with when you're pregnant. What you should and should not eat, what kind of exercise is right for you, how to handle mood changes, even how to determine when it's time for delivery.
Don't let your pregnancy be a burden. Watch The Baby Story on Safe TV Channel 2 every weekday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Now you can know all you need to know from conception to delivery when you watch The Baby Story on Safe TV Channel 2.
Need a ride around town and beyond? Look no further than Oasis Ride Taxi Service. With affordable prices and some of the best drivers in the business, we've been delivering prompt and reliable service to Guyana for over 16 years. We also offer tours, chauffeur service, and even car rentals. You can call us at 231-5554 or 225-5496. For deals, specials, and more information, find our page on Facebook. Oasis Ride Taxi Service. Let's go.
Styles, simply different.
Seems like people will try just about anything to lose weight these days. But nothing works better than proper dieting and exercise. So if you're guilty of eating the wrong foods, not finding time to exercise, or can't afford a gym, join Safe TV Channel 2 for Body and Spirit. Aerobics workout with Dick Nunez.
Hello, I'm Dick Nunez. Welcome to Body and Spirit Aerobics.
Weekday mornings from 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. Don't hesitate. Act now, because your greatest wealth is your health.
In what was considered a nearly perfect execution of duties yesterday, the joint services were showered with kudos for their efforts. Wendell Jeffrey again tells us what took place.
In what was obviously a well-executed display of teamwork, professionalism, and tactical insightfulness, the members of the joint services were forced into containing the situation of the Camp Street fire yesterday evening. No doubt, they prevented what would have been a much worse situation. This was a mass casualty situation, and Prison Services Director Gladwin Samuels, Officer in Charge Kelvin Pilgrim, Commander Clifton Hicken, along with their subordinate officers, came in for high praise. The situation on hand was that they had to curtail and manage over 1,000 inmates who were at times hostile and even violent towards the officers. Some were informed and had difficulty managing on their own. Some were otherwise limited by their disability and just sat there, helpless. Others were hoisted and placed in vehicles away from the developing chaotic situation. They had to be individually strip searched so as to reduce the incidences of injuries either to fellow inmates or to officers. As the officers did the individual strip searching, they found many makeshift weapons. The situation also dictated that transportation had to be arranged to shuttle the inmates away from the location. And for this, many novel ideas were explored and executed. The Ministry of Public Security's straight cattle impound truck came in very handy. The Army sent trucks that made several trips back and forth all through the evening. The night rider bus service and other private transportation firms were also summoned to move the estimated 1,000 plus inmates to the Lusignan prison. It was a tedious task all by itself, as many of the inmates refused to leave the scene, choosing rather to soak up the historic sights and sounds. The commanding and logistical officers were seen at several intervals through the night, huddling as they changed game plans or sought input each from the other as to the next move. The divisional commanders, officers in charge, fire chief, and their subordinate staff deserved the praises that were being heaped on them. Basil, it would have been a much worse situation if more of the inmates had had the opportunity to escape. For Channel 2 Headline News, I am Wendell Jeffrey.
Good to go, Wendell. And that's Channel 2's prison disaster coverage and headline news for this Monday evening. All citizens of Guyana are asked to take strict precaution and to report any suspicious behavior of persons to the nearest police station. Strict confidentiality will be observed. As we take our leave, we invite you to find Channel 2 Headline News on Facebook, YouTube, and SafeTVGuyana.com. You can also tune in at 6:30 tomorrow morning for a rebroadcast. Until then, I'm Basil Bradshaw, signing out from this newscast.